Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit tre.radio.
TRE in the afternoon. Presented by Hannah Murray.
Good afternoon. It's just gone 5:05. You are listening to Men Talk. With me in the studio today, we have Bill Blencarn, Mark Curry and Peter Bennett.
Hello.
Whoa. I feel we should speak like this because it's Man Talk.
You can speak however you like. Brilliant. For anyone listening at home, if you want to get involved, you absolutely can. Here's how.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95.
What a beautiful day, it's a wonderful life.
Thank you for coming, Mark. It's lovely to see you.
How can I resist when it's you? Curry and Murray on the airwaves again. There's a show there, baby. Sort it.
Absolutely.
Sort
Curry
it.
Murray, love it. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Nicely relaxed.
Good.
I've been in wicked recovery mode because I was in Wicked in London for like 16 months. It was a long one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and finished in March, and me and my wonderful partner Jeremy, we got in the car and we drove down to Spain, but we took our time. We took about 2 weeks, not because the car's terrible. We decided to stay 2 nights in every place, and we literally got on the ferry in New Haven near Eastbourne, and we came over to Dieppe, and we drove down to the south of France, and then went to Hondarribia in Spain, and Asturias, and Santiago de Compostela, and Cáceres.
So you went to loads of places that you've never been before.
Exactly, that was the idea. We wanted to go to places we'd never been. We wanted to not drive every day.
Yeah.
Because it's just that one day of not driving, you revive, but also you get to look around and you can enjoy yourself. And
you have a couple of drinks.
Have a few drinks, not half. And Spain, isn't it, fellas? Spain is a wonderful country.
It's fantastic.
The diversity here is... So, do it. Do it. Yeah.
Top tip, any kind of standout place that you absolutely love that maybe you thought we could go back here on a holiday?
There's a place called Trujillo, which is near Cáceres, and it's a little gem. It's a little medieval square. They were just about to have a massive cheese festival. They do it every year.
Love a bit of cheese.
Love a bit of cheese. And
so you say just about to. Does that mean you didn't stay for the cheese festival?
we missed it. With they were putting up all these stalls and everything, and we said, "What is it?" And they said, "There's this massive cheese festival which is just about to start."
Yeah.
So that's in May. So look out for that next year. But it's just a little gem. Friends of ours had told us about it, and the buildings are great. It's quite small, so you haven't got a lot of walking to do. It's beautiful, but it's also lively. You know, some of these places with all the old buildings can be interesting, but you want a bit of life.
Yeah.
And there aren't enough cafes or bars in Trujillo. It's all there. So that would be a standout. And also Porto, because I've never been to Porto in Portugal, which is the city that never sleeps. Have you been?
No, not to Porto.
It's amazing. Have you been, guys?
I have been to Porto once in 2016, Mo. And I went for a football match. We won 5-0 actually. But
who was that?
Porto, Liverpool. Yeah.
I think there's a plaque on a bar where you went, actually.
It was biblical rain for 36 hours. It never stopped. It was torrential. It was the worst conditions I've ever spent watching a football match. I'd just like it noted, though, Hannah, Bill and I have both driven through from Puerto Banús along the A7 to get here. I think there's as many stories in that as there is in Mark's trip.
It's not nothing like Mark, where did you stop on the way?
Well, I had to get petrol. I was going to...
You went to Repsol?
I went to Repsol.
Was it nice?
Coffee and biscuit.
Absolutely lovely. I had a coffee.
Was it lively, the
They're having the
Repsol?
cheese festival next week.
Are you now sponsored by Repsol? You've mentioned it 5 times, so I better join in.
Repsol.
Brilliant. Right. Let's start talking about food. It's always a good place to start. There's an article here talking about breakfast cereals. They asked people what their favourite breakfast cereal was. It came out number 1, Crunchy Nut Cornflakes. I'll just do the top 10, followed by Cornflakes, Cocoa Pops, Weetabix, Frosties, Rice Krispies, Shreddies, Cheerios, Ready Brek and Special K Red Berries. That's the top 10.
Whoa.
So that's the first 10 of the ones that are all covered in sugar
I was
and
gonna
really
say,
bad for your health. Yeah?
the sugar
Where was
content,
Sugar
isn't it?
Puffs?
Sugar Puffs doesn't feature. Didn't they stop making them?
Never.
I don't think you can get Sugar Puffs
Don't
anymore.
say that.
He's only 47. And
He can't say that.
stop making sugar.
Honey Monster.
He's crying now.
Oh no, Bill! Don't worry. They're not in the list, so I can only imagine.
That's because they're the only healthy ones.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, crunchy nut cornflakes with ice-cold milk. I did used to eat those.
Same, I did.
Beautiful, really lovely, but
Yeah.
not good. All that shit, it's not
No,
good.
it's
Even
really
granola. I'm a granola fan, but you've got to be really careful with that
Yeah.
because that's also quite sugary. But I love my cereals in the morning. Do you
Yeah.
guys?
I was going to
I'm
say,
not
do you
cereal.
still have cereal
Yeah,
then?
I do, and I
what
know
do you
it's-
have now then?
Well, we have granola.
Granola,
Try and get
okay.
organic granola. And we have lots of berries, some blueberries and raspberries and
Nice.
a bit of yogurt, sometimes some
So
oat milk.
yogurt instead of milk?
Oh, yeah. I don't drink much milk, actually.
Okay.
No, don't drink much milk. Love my cereals, love my fruit in the morning.
Yeah.
And start off with some hot lemon.
Oh,
Very nice. I had a ginger and carrot shot, and that makes me want to vom. But anyway, that and a banana after the gym.
But you're
Can't
still
go
alive,
wrong.
mate.
I'm still
When was the last time you had cereal? Because for me, I can't even remember. Years and years ago.
I was never a cereal person.
No.
Never a cereal person.
We try and make breakfast interesting for if we
Yeah.
have breakfast. Debbie
Maybe-
likes
maybe
porridge.
cheese
she
on
likes porridge.
toast. Maybe cheese on
mate,
toast.
but I could have that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So
Yeah, it's a hangover. That's a hangover breakfast.
So what do you have, Hannah?
Well, I mix it up a bit.
Do you?
I like fruit and
Yeah,
yogurt.
fruit's good. Fruit's good.
Sometimes I might have toast or egg, avocado. I do like a bit of avocado on toast.
yeah.
But you do
I
have
kind of-
breakfast?
Not every day.
No,
Not
same.
sometimes I'll have a protein shake with half a banana in. So I kind of, mix
More
mix
water
it
for
up
me
a
in the
bit.
morning. I fill up
Water.
on water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fill
But
up.
what
on-
does it say, that list of what we're doing to our
high-
kids, really?
I know,
Because
'cause it's the sugar
The
content,
sugar is
isn't it?
really bad news,
Yeah.
And I say this as somebody who does like sugar. I have got a sweet tooth, and I've eaten those cereals. And actually, if some Kellogg's, what was it, Crunchy Nut Cornflakes,
Crunchy Nut Cornflakes,
were
yeah.
here, I would have some
Yeah.
because I love
Yeah,
it.
that
But
would go
it's
well.
not good. It's really not good.
It seems to have got worse. There's one in the list called Cookie Crisp, and I think I've seen these before. Well, they have like little
Yeah.
miniature cookies, like
Like
chocolate
Oreos.
chip cookies,
Yeah.
or Oreos
Yeah.
as well. I remember when I was young, what were they called? With the Lucky Charms.
Lucky
Yeah, yeah.
Charms,
And they had actual marshmallows in. And I
Yeah.
remember even thinking as a kid, this can't be good. Marshmallows are a sweet that you would buy from the sweet shop. Should we really be having this for breakfast?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nonsense, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Do you remember those cereals that were like little pillows?
You got shreddies.
No, not shreddies. I love shreddies, but they were something puffs, weren't they?
Do they have something in them?
No, they were
no.
just like little pillows.
I thought they were
bit into them.
shreddies. And
No.
then you had Weetabix was the bigger version.
yeah.
No, it was like oat. Was it oat crunch or somebody
that
will
sounds
probably
nice.
tell you.
Yeah.
But they were a bit tasteless. But I just loved biting
Need
into
more
them.
sugar on there, mate.
Because it was like eating little blows.
That's why he went to Crunchy Nut.
Did you ever so when they were a bit tasteless, did you ever sprinkle a bit of sugar? Yeah.
I used to put jam on my Weetabix. I used to have 2 Weetabix before I went to school, ice cold milk, and I would have a little teaspoon of my mum's raspberry jam or strawberry jam on top. You see, sweet tooth.
I never got into Weetabix. Every time I tried it, no matter how quickly I ate it, they'd go mush. They'd turn to mush before you could eat it, and then you just have the milk with the mush. And
I could only have it with hot milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
With those with hot milk and maybe a squirt of honey on, but otherwise yuck.
Yeah, I just didn't like the mush.
No,
when they all.
they did, and they went really fast, didn't they?
Yeah.
So did they still put toys in the cereals, little plastic figures? Because I used to get like
think
the.
so.
I remember once when Thunderbirds was big, because I was a massive Thunderbirds fan.
Yeah.
And you could get all the Thunderbirds puppets, but tiny.
Yeah.
In a I don't know what the cereal was, but I loved that. And when I got Lady Penelope,
All your dreams came
I
true.
think then the writing was on the wall. I loved Lady Penelope. That pink Cadillac. I mean, drive on, Parker. Yes, me lady. I loved it. When I got Lady Penelope in my cereals, I was so happy.
That was the
Do you
sign.
remember, what was it called? The when you used to get the boxes of cereals, they were the small
ones.
Oh,
yeah.
Variety
pack. And what ones were always left that nobody wanted?
It was always just cornflakes.
No, it was
the cornflakes and it was the Rice Krispies, the one that didn't have sugar on.
No, the non-chocolate Rice Krispies.
Yeah.
But you don't see
Snap,
many
crackle,
adverts now, do you?
You're not allowed to say it, though, are you? Can you imagine that on TV advert? Snap, crackle, and pop.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to get upset with that, no?
Yeah.
Why?
Encouraging violence.
You're encouraging violence there. Snap, crackle, and pop. Sorry,
so
can't
depressing.
do that.
So depressing. Okay, there's an article about... Did you see any pictures or videos of the Met Gala on Monday night? It's always a big fashion event, and they always go, there's always loads of coverage seeing what they wore, who wore it
A
best,
dress made
all
out
this
of
kind
sand.
Stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yes, what they didn't wear
It's
is
what
actually
they didn't
more
wear.
to the point.
Yeah,
I thought they were wearing too much.
So there was an article where Liz Jones wrote saying, why in 2024 do the world's most successful women still believe they have to be naked to be noticed? And there was quite a few outfits, particularly Rita Ora's, I have to say, where, they weren't wearing much, or they were wearing see-through outfits. You could see bottoms, you could see breasts, you could see nipples, you could see the whole lot. There was like a lot on show with a lot of them.
Yeah, but they want the attention. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
there's going to be how many?
They've got it as
many women? How many women? Am I allowed to say women? People dressed in dresses. Women, I'm going to say.
Women, it's fine.
Were there who were big names who were dressed normally. I mean, it's an attention. It's an attention thing. I'm sorry. It's just that for me, that really is an attention seeking.
But do you think, honestly, because I know you said they were wearing too much, so honestly, can you look at women that are wearing these kinds of dresses? Do you think they look good?
Okay.
Or do you think, why do they have to show so much?
I've got to be really careful here.
No,
I think you're all right.
Listen, I live in Portobello. I literally live in Portobello, so I'm out all the time. I'm 47. I'm and I'm walking around the port on an evening, what have you, and I'm thinking, oh my God, why are they out? I mean, that dress like that, and not that it's wrong for them to dress like that. Anybody should be able to dress
how they want,
as they want.
Yeah.
But when you've got a 17-year-old daughter, as I have, it's not. It's about the people around. It's not necessarily about you should be able to wear what you want, how you want, in any environment you want.
And what's the reaction? What is the reaction from people when you see somebody dressed like that? You are going to look at a woman or a guy who is in good shape, in next to nothing. You are going to look at them. That's when the animal takes over. What's the reaction then from, in this case, the girl, when a guy or whoever looks at them in, wow, you look fantastic, and even in a slightly sexual way, because they're looking very overtly sexual, you can't really then complain if someone's looking at you and you're wearing that. Can you really?
I think
it's animal instinct, to jump in on it. It's even on the beach with some of the bikinis and even the shorts, the budgie smugglers that some of these guys are wearing, it's like, you know what?
Doesn't leave much to the imagination.
No. Yeah.
But I think the reality is how people would feel about it, and I think let's maybe be honest here, if it was to happen to you as well. I'm just trying to imagine that. I suppose if someone's eyeing you up and kind of coming onto you or saying, oh, you look amazing, and making kind of comments, if you maybe find them attractive or think they're a laugh or a mate or whatever, then you probably wouldn't mind. But if you've decided that they're a bit of a creep or you don't like them or whatever, then you won't like it, which I think is really wrong. Is it not? I don't know. It's down to how the person feels.
You're kind of putting yourself in a situation. If you're wearing a dress like Rita Ora was, where you can clearly see her nipples,
and her bum
and everything. I'm sorry, you are, guys. Everybody's different, right? You are going to get people that may come up and go, do you know what? You look absolutely stunning in that outfit. Fair play for you wearing that.
Yeah.
On others, you're going to get people coming up going, white love. But if you put yourself in that situation, you're going to have to deal. And this is what I say to my daughter: if you're going to go out dressed in certain outfits, you have to be prepared to deal with different, approaches,
for sure.
and different scenarios. So,
Well, my budgie smuggling days are over.
don't believe that.
And even when I did it where nobody ever looked. Nobody ever looked. Nobody ever. But I just never. I think things should be left to the imagination a little bit. I mean, the ladies that I've seen in the paper today, they look fantastic because they are in great shape.
Yeah.
They obviously work very hard at it. They're younger. They can get away with it. I mean, look great. Wear whatever you like. It's up to you. Be your authentic self is absolutely right for me. But I just wonder, just let's have a bit of imagination. Don't people look great when, you can see a guy in a suit and he's in a suit and you think he looks fantastic and you're not seeing any of his body.
No, exactly.
But you're seeing the shape you can imagine. Use your imagination. What's under there, So, I don't know. I'm all for a bit of imagination on that.
That's kind of where I was going and thinking, there's a lot of women that for this event that looked amazing and were covered up in a dress where you could just see their arms and their ankles and that was it. And they also looked stunning. You can see the shape of their body. You can tell they're in great shape and they look amazing. You don't need to kind of show lots of details in order to look good. But for sure, it'll be an attention thing. They knew they'd be in the papers and they want publicity. So it worked for them.
If you were going to that event, what would you wear? Would it depend where you were going?
I'm not in as great shape as these ladies, so I wouldn't be wearing that.
But what do you generally go for? If you're going out for a fantastic big night in Marbs or whatever, what do you go for?
Well, I mean, you kind of, over the years, you're used to kind of trying on lots of different clothes and you kind of know what shape works for your shape and what shape doesn't. And, over the years, all women will relate to this and maybe guys as well on a different level. But, you'll see a dress that looks amazing on a woman who's got a certain figure and you'll go, well, she looks amazing in that, but that wouldn't suit me at all. It wouldn't work on me, on my shape. So you have to kind of know what works for you. So I feel like I've got to that stage where I know what kind of shape dresses will work and what won't. So I have a selection in my wardrobe, let's say, of the right shape for me.
Can I try them on sometime?
Let's take a break quick.
TRE. Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Men Talk. With me in the studio today, we have Bill Blancan, Mark Curry and Peter Bennett. Have you all seen Baby Reindeer?
Not yet, but I'm aware of it.
Started.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to give anything away, either to you or to anyone listening who hasn't seen it, but the premise is a female stalker who stalks the guy, the main character. And one of the most unbelievable things about the series is that the guy who plays the main character, this actually happened to him. It's his true story. He wrote his true story and he played the main part, playing himself, basically. So this female stalker, in the first couple of episodes, it's quite kind of light-hearted and you think, wow, this woman's a bit nuts. And then it takes quite a dark turn. So there's been a lot of speculation about this woman, the real woman who plays the part of Martha on social media. And Piers Morgan has recorded an interview with her, the actual stalker, not the actress, and apparently it's airing tonight. And there's a lot of kind of talk on social media that I hadn't thought of until I'd read other people's comments, how weirdly unethical this is, because most people's initial reaction is, oh, can't wait to see that. Let's see what this crazy woman's got to say. But the reality is she clearly has quite serious mental health issues. In order to be behaving in the way in which she's behaved, not just with this guy from Baby Reindeer, but other men of, she's been to court and has quite serious restraining orders and things against her. Somebody said something on social media that really made me think, wow, how true is that? If she was a man, if it was a man who had stalked a woman in such a way, would Piers Morgan be interviewing this guy and everyone will be saying, oh, let's see what this bloke's got to say? No.
That's interesting.
Not in a million years.
Mm-hmm. So is the argument he shouldn't have done it? And has she complained? What has she said about this?
She has complained. She said that she feels like she was used, basically to be made a mockery of, which for sure, that's what it would have been.
I mean, I'd ask the question, number one, has she been paid?
Yeah, she has.
Right? So she's been paid.
Yeah.
So there is a question from my perspective. The producers of the show, did they act responsibly in knowing how this could, what the reaction this could have? However, again, in this day and age, this is the type of content that unfortunately people want to see. And sadly, rightly or wrongly, you know, she's seen the money. She's thought that it would be okay to go on. Pierce is he's very good at his job, and he knows what he's doing. And if he sees an angle of weakness, he will exploit it. So I guess for me, the question would be, was it even ethical to offer her money? Because now the repercussions this woman's going to have, rightly or wrongly, for what she did in the first place, it's going to be really bad for her.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, really bad for her.
Well, she's vulnerable, clearly, as well.
Definitely.
And should somebody with serious mental health issues be on a programme like that? I suppose she can make up her own mind, but it smacks of exploitation. I haven't seen it. I'll try and see that interview, but it does smack of exploitation, doesn't it? A bit?
Definitely.
It does, very much so. I mean, let's be honest, it wouldn't be the first time that Mr. Morgan has been exploitative of some people.
He knows what makes a good show.
He does. He does. He's very good at it. Doesn't mean I find him tasteful.
No.
In the slightest, because I don't.
No,
and,
same.
You know, think back to some of the phone tapping days. It was criminal what he did, or what he's alleged to have done.
Yeah.
And I found the whole thing pretty distasteful, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that the poor woman has clearly got problems. A TV company decides it's good value to pay her for an interview. She accepts, given her possibly frail mental state, and he milks it and makes the most out of it. And we're already talking about it, and hasn't even started yet.
Exactly.
Hasn't even been out.
Well, they will be aware of what a big hit the series is, because everybody's talking about it.
Very much so.
Everyone's going to watch the interview. And it would have probably been portrayed to her by the management company or whatever. This is a chance for you to tell your side of the story.
Absolutely.
And that's always Piers Morgan's thing, the inside story.
Yes.
You know, it's giving people the chance to tell their story, which theoretically is a good thing. People want the chance to tell their story, especially if they've been bashed in the press and whatever.
But to be honest, Hannah, I've worked with people who have been stalked. You know, I've done shows with quite high-profile people, and they've had, when I was presenting Blue Peter, for instance, Karen Keating, God bless her, had a stalker, and it was so bad that she had to arrange to be able to park her car in what was called the Horseshoe at Television Centre, and nobody parked in the Horseshoe unless you were, you know, big. And she had to, and he would send her photographs. He called himself Kev the Marathon Man, and he would send her photographs of him running. So there's nothing bad about the photograph, except you never saw his face. So he would cut off his head on the photograph. And it freaked her out. Flowers would arrive before the live show. And at first we were all joking about him, saying, I'd like a stalker, you know. And she said, no, you wouldn't, because this guy's everywhere. He knows where I live. He turned up in Ireland at her father's house.
Oh, no.
So the whole thing of this stalking thing, I don't really want to watch a programme about it, because the person who's being stalked, it is no fun, whether you're a guy or a girl. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
It's not fun. It's nice having fans, but stalking is a really difficult thing, you know, for people. So I don't really want to see it.
I don't think you'll like it then, because it, as I say, it's only the first couple of episodes. It's slightly light-hearted, and you think, oh gosh, she's nuts.
It's almost like the Tinder swindler, isn't it? I mean, it's like the way they're doing it. But I think the, you know, obviously being in TV and what have you, they know, like Pierce knows this is going to blow up into it, be all over the press, and then because that's what they want, right? Because they want everybody watching the shows. But again, the part that comes into this, which unfortunately in our society in these days, is we don't think about the impact on those people that are currently going through it, those people that have gone through it. And this could be if you remember last time, trigger to bring back some pretty horrific memories and what have you. And it can also be a trigger for people to start doing it. You know?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing having a fan. People have fans who are wonderful. For instance, in Wicked, I've just been in Wicked, and we had fans turning up every single night to see the show. And they were wonderful. They were at the stage door. And you did want to say to them, look, you know, you're spending all this money. You've seen the show 200 times, because some of them really have.
Oh, wow.
But they were so lovely, especially to the two leading girls when they walked out.
Yeah.
They got amazing gifts. On hot days, we'd get sent, fresh fruit, and we'd get ice cream sent by them and drinks. But that's a big difference between fans who are a bit obsessed with the show, and that's great, to somebody who's a stalker. It's a whole different ball game, and as I say, it's a bit scary.
Hannah, I better hide my blue pizza badge in.
Oh, it's you! He keeps turning up. It's him. Oh, hello. How you doing? You look better with your clothes on.
There's an article here which they were talking about on the news earlier, and I cannot believe that they said this particular word on the news just before the show at 4:00. So if you're thinking of telling a young person that they're a pillock, a ninny or a drip, think again. They probably won't understand you. A survey suggests some of our favourite insults are at risk of dying out because young adults have never heard of them. There was one that they said, which clearly isn't as bad as I thought it was, because they said it on the news, and I thought I was concerned about saying it on the show, but they've said it on the news. Tosspot. Apparently that's perfectly fine to say on the radio.
Is it?
Which I was quite surprised about, to be honest. But I thought
You can toss a pot, can't you? I mean, there's...
and I think that's where it comes from.
I read that list and I've been called every single one of them.
That was just this morning. So let's go through the words. So I have to admit, sorry, lummox is the first one. I've never heard
somebody
of
overweight then they're not active.
Oh, it's a lummox.
You absolute lummox.
I think it's northern, isn't it? Isn't it northern, you lummox?
I'm not from up north.
Oh, no, I can tell that.
Another one that I haven't heard of, Bampot. B-A-M-P-O-T.
Yeah, never heard of that.
Bampot. That's northern. That's definitely northern. Yeah, Bampot.
Okay, Bampot.
Is that a bread roll?
No, I can see that, I think.
Okay.
As in balmy, you see.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Balmy,
Okay,
balmy.
yes. Blighter, but that sounds really old-fashioned, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That sounds a bit First World War, that one.
Yeah, exactly. Ninny, also sounds old-fashioned.
Ninny,
Someone would
ninny.
laugh, you ninny.
Yeah,
You can't use that word now.
You can't?
No, because people use it for other terminologies.
Oh, really?
do they?
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
Oh, dear.
He's pointing downwards.
Have you got
listener.
one or have I?
No, you've got... Well, I might have one. I mean, we haven't got to those questions yet.
Indeterminate.
It's just because you were pointing to yourself and I suddenly thought it was...
Look at what she's wearing. It's quite clear. That's a different story.
Bill's identified as a ninny.
Yes, exactly. Then there's cad, which is like a man who's a kind of likes the ladies kind of
a
thing.
cad.
No, a cad. He's a bit of a cad.
That's really Victorian, though, isn't it?
I think that's American, actually, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think so.
yeah.
I just
Again,
think of a drawing.
old-fashioned. Drip. I mean,
Drip.
that's...
Oh,
yeah.
but that's all right, isn't
Yeah, it's
it?
fine.
We have to
You
say
just wouldn't
something.
say it.
Yeah.
have to
The
call
world is
people
full of them at the
Well,
moment.
the words that we use these days wouldn't be printed in the press, I don't think. So we can say these. Yeah, so tosspot. I just thought that was much more harsh than drip, to be honest.
Yeah.
Is plonker on there?
Is what?
Plonker.
Yes, plonker's on
Of
there.
course, because
Yeah.
of Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Became massive.
Yeah.
Plonker. And also pillock. I
Pillock,
associate the same kind of genre, pillock and plonker. Toe rag. I mean, that's very Victorian, isn't
Love
it?
that. I love that.
use that quite often, actually, yeah.
You little toe rag.
Use that a lot.
Yeah.
You little toe rag.
Little
Little
toe
toe
rag.
rag.
The thing is, it's all right to call yourself these things, you know, when you've done something
Yes.
wrong. But if somebody else says it, you really get offended.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about nitwit?
Oh, that's cute.
Nitwit. That's kind of a bit childish. You nitwit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is,
exactly.
isn't it?
Stuff that is. You
Yeah.
nitwit.
I think my mum used to call me that when I was about 4, you know.
Yeah. I'm surprised to see this. Prat.
Oh,
I thought that was quite offensive.
Prat.
Wasn't Prat a pregnant goldfish or something?
I think it is. I
Is
think
it?
it is, yes.
So
Well,
it's
you
not-
could.
so
You
Prat's
can't insult
okay.
pregnant goldfish. Then
No, you can't.
You can't.
You can't.
But that's a good word, you see. That's a really strong word. That's a good word when
Yes,
when you say that.
You
One of my-
absolute prat.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
My best friend at primary school was Claire Pratt.
yeah.
Oh.
Which
But
is
double
awful.
T.
Right.
But yes, still,
No,
bless her.
change that name.
Yeah. Scallywag. That sounds like Famous Five kind of.
You scallywag.
I think that's lovely. That should
nice
definitely
word,
come
though,
back.
isn't it?
That's
That's
really
a
lovely
nice
word,
one.
isn't it?
I'd call my friend Joey that all the time.
Really?
Yeah, he's a right scallywag.
How funny. And how would you describe Joe?
Scallywag.
He's a proper prat. Back to being a scallywag as well. And a right
He's going to go through the list. He's all of the above.
Well, particularly prevalent in Liverpool there. It's still used, and it's used over here as well by a lot of the lads I know. Scallies, and that comes from scallywag.
Okay, yes, of
so
course.
it's just an abbreviation.
Scallies. Yeah. What about git?
Git, oh yeah, I use that all the time.
It's, for me, it kind of goes with old git.
Old git,
Yeah. I've caught myself out a few times because I am now an old git.
I was going to say, my dad calls himself that.
Yes.
He says I'm an old git.
You reach an age where you qualify, basically.
Yeah. Numpty. I
love that. That's a good word.
I think out of all of those, the one I would use the most is numpty.
Yeah. Numpty's nice.
Yeah.
But potentially about myself. For numpty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you're too young to be an old git. That's
Exactly.
But again, you've got to be very careful what you call kids, haven't you? Because it's very easy for parents just to say, if their kids are doing something or they've knocked something over, to say something. You've got to be really careful what you say in that moment because that can plant things
Absolutely.
in their brain, So,
don't call them a prat.
No.
Or any of those.
Any of those do.
Silly, what would she say?
Silly Billy.
Silly Billy.
Oh, dear.
I heard that because my name's Bill. So I used to turn around all the time when it was
Brilliant. We better take another break.
TRE. Talk Radio Europe.
Hannah Murray. TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Men Talk with me in the studio today, Bill Blencarn, Mark Curry and Peter Bennett. Sleep easy. Weekend lions can keep you happy. There's nothing like enjoying a long lie-in at the weekend after a busy week. Now experts have found that it's not only relaxing but may have health gains, as those who get catch-up sleep are less likely to suffer symptoms of depression. There we go. It's good for us.
Hooray.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wondered how, if it makes a difference for you. So assuming you haven't had like a massive late night and lots to drink and all that kind of stuff the night before, which can of course make a difference the next day. But if you haven't done that, do you automatically sleep more when you don't have to get up for work, or does your body clock kind of kick in and you wake up the same kind of time?
But not anymore. I just wake up now.
I find it harder during the week to get up and get out of bed, but when I know it's the weekend and I can do what I want.
7 o'clock.
Wide awake, 7 o'clock.
Oh,
Isn't that weird?
So
It's so bizarre.
That's true. When you've got to
bizarre.
get up, when you've got that early flight. I remember when I first came out to Spain, we always used to go for that really early flight. And the person who was driving us to the airport would arrive at 5:15. We actually wanted him to arrive at 5:30, but he would arrive at 5:15. So from 3 o'clock in the morning, I was waking up and I just did not sleep when you know that you've got to get up.
Yeah.
But then you think, okay, I don't have to do that. I'm fine, I can lie in.
Yeah.
Can't lie in.
Can't lie in.
I wake up at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and I can go for a run. So what is that about? It's exactly what you were saying.
Yeah.
So what is that about?
So I always mentally kind of think it's Saturday. I can go for a walk along the Paseo.
Yeah.
Right, get out of bed, put the washing on, do it, and go for a nice walk.
Off we go.
Why don't I just stay in bed? just get out of bed. No, I can't. Body, head's engaged. Right, do something. Don't waste your 2 days off lying in bed.
But if you can, if this piece is saying that it's better for you just to so even if you wake up, maybe what we shouldn't do is leap out of bed because we're awake. We should just maybe make a drink, bring the drink back to bed. I'm talking about tea or something like that. Maybe get the papers or whatever. And just because when I do that, I actually do then get it's a little bit soporific if you want to drink, and then you just go back to sleep and have a nice sleep for another hour. Why not just try that? Don't leap out of bed because you're used to getting up at 7 o'clock. I might try that this weekend.
I also think there's a difference between if you're in a relationship or if you're single. So I'm very much single. And often if you're in a relationship, why bother getting out of bed on a Saturday morning, or a Sunday morning?
Just stay there for the whole day.
Depends who's next to you, doesn't it?
Because you can. I remember when I stopped doing, I'll be interested to see what it was like for you, when I stopped doing the breakfast show, because I would set the alarm every morning in order to do the breakfast show. I've never been a morning person, and if it wasn't for that alarm waking me up, I would have slept through the show, genuinely. And everyone said, once you stop doing the show, your body clock will probably wake you. No. Not
Didn't
once.
it?
Not once
Oh.
did my body clock wake me up at 6 o'clock, 6:30. Not
So you
once.
are a night person. You absolutely
Yeah.
are. And I read a book about sleeping, and some people just are.
Yeah.
And you can't really change it. Apparently, according to this book, you either are a morning person or a night person. I am a morning person. I really always have been. The problem I had when I was doing the breakfast show before you came along, before you did it, was that I just wouldn't sleep. I just kept waking up every hour, and I had to, because we're in Mijas, and the show was then from San Pedro. It's quite a drive, and I always used to think, what if the traffic's bad, whatever, I'm the first on air.
Yeah.
I never really slept very well. I was fine. I was full of energy, because I'm a morning person, but I didn't get much sleep.
I always had less sleep because everybody said, "Oh, you'll need to go to bed earlier now doing the breakfast show," and I couldn't.
Because you're a night person.
I can't go to bed at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I can't.
She's a Leo. She's a Leo.
I'm a Leo night person. I can go to bed and think, okay, I'll go to sleep now, and I'll turn the light off, and my brain will be going.
Same as me.
So,
And if you know that you've got that early flight in the morning, it's like...
It's awful.
Or just get less sleep, or just get 3-4 hours sleep, as opposed to sleeping earlier.
I used to share a flat with a weather presenter, a presenter called Sally Mean, who was on GMTV years ago. She was the weather presenter, and the phone would go at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, it was a fax machine, because in those days the weather would get faxed to her.
Yeah.
So I would hear this fax machine, and she would get up, and she always had to get to the studio to straighten her hair, because she has curly hair, and you have to stand in front of a green screen, as they say. So you can't have curly hair, so she'd have to get there to get the makeup on, to get the hair straightened, then to look at all the weather charts and everything. 3 o'clock in the morning she was up. And that over a long length of time. When I watch Breakfast Time and I watch the presenters, it's really tough. It really is, because you're not just falling into the studio and reading the autocue. You've got to do all the... So I wonder if when it comes to the weekend, they get their mornings off. I wonder if they can actually sleep in, because they're so used to getting up.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't think they will, because they have all the other side, all the other jobs that they're, what's her name, whose husband sadly passed away? I know she does radio.
Kate Garraway.
Kate Garraway, yeah, she does a radio station on the weekend. So, gosh, I mean.
I interviewed Stuart McConey yesterday, BBC Radio.
Broadcasting hero of mine.
Yeah.
Along with Mark Curry, obviously.
Wonderful guy.
He said he was talking about, because I asked him about what time slot he preferred, because he's done breakfast, evening and afternoon. And he was talking about the late, great Sir Terry Wogan. And he said that what Terry Wogan would do is just he'd run his whole life and his day early. So he'd do the breakfast show. He said he'd be on the golf course by 10 o'clock. Then he'd have a lunch with wine, have a nice lunch with friends, nice food, nice wine. Go home, maybe watch a movie, and be in bed by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And he managed to kind of do that.
That makes sense, doesn't it? Because you're alive. Because I don't know how you were after the breakfast show, but I was on high. I was on a real high, and I always have to go for breakfast. I used to love going for a big breakfast
same.
and start thinking about the show the next day, and then that would wear off by about sort of 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
I was having siestas most days, which I've never done before or since. But because I was getting up that early, often I'd go for breakfast, go for gym. I was able to do all the ladies' lunches and things, which I can't do now. So I do, and then I'd have an hour's sleep or something in the afternoon. It was weird.
Love it.
Like, I get it when people do it.
But we underrate sleep. Sleep is so important, and siestas are so important. Just 20. I've always done it all my life. Like in rehearsals and stuff. If I'm not needed, I'll just go and find a corner and just lie on the floor and go to sleep. And I've always done it. I did it in my 20s, and I'm still doing it. And I honestly believe that it's a good idea. But then when I wake up, I feel great. I know some people, if they have a little siesta, they don't want. They feel really sleepy.
I feel great after it. Even 20 minutes, I get the benefit.
Should definitely do that. Definitely do that. Brings your heart rate down and all that stuff.
It's good for us. Okay, we'll take a break, but let's not fall asleep in the break.
Talk Radio Europe. Hannah Murray, TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the last part of Men Talk. With me in the studio today, Bill Blenkarn, Mark Curry and Peter Bennett. Getting angry. The next time a cold caller makes your blood boil, take a deep breath. because anger really could finish you off. Researchers found brief moments of anger can impair the function of blood vessels, interrupting the supply. This impairment in blood vessel... Blimey, it goes on a bit, and they're all scientific here. Anyway, it raises...
Don't get angry, though, man.
Yes, good point. Deep breath. It raises the risk of a heart attack or stroke for up to 40 minutes. So it's basically saying we shouldn't get angry. I thought it was an interesting point of discussion to ask you if you feel like you get your trigger for getting angry happens more as you get older or less. Do you feel like you're more angry or less angry than you were 10 years ago?
Those phone calls, I take them as an opportunity to do wind-ups.
Yeah.
We're so sorry we hear you had a car accident last month. How are you doing? Yeah, I've lost an arm. I've lost a leg. How can you help me? I need to claim money. And they're gone.
Yeah.
They're gone.
So you don't get angry, you have fun with it.
I have fun
It's
with
fun.
it. I get more angry with the way people drive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's a fair
absolutely.
point.
Yeah.
I don't get angry with the cold calling thing, although I think it doesn't happen in Spain as much as it probably happens in the UK.
Or you just go habla inglés, and
exactly.
and then they can hang up.
Basically,
So that's
stop.
quite- yeah.
However, if you ask Debbie, she said I'm much more like Victor Meldrew than I used to be. So there possibly is a grumpier old man coming out of me now.
Oh, there's definitely that. You definitely get grumpy. Your intolerance level raises, I think, as you get older. So generally, I'm not an angry person. I really am not. And I will step back, if I feel myself getting angry, I take a deep breath, because you always regret it, don't you? When you float, you think of the few times in your life, or many times in your life, when you've really lost it.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing. And having to go in the next day and say to people, I'm really sorry I lost it, or say to the person, I'm so sorry I said those things.
Yeah.
You feel terrible. You are the one, when you're angry, who suffers. Nobody else gets it. You get it. You know, I mean, at the time, it might feel like the right thing to do, but just sometimes you get wound up, and I do get a bit more wound up now about things like, bad service in restaurants. That really gets me. I found myself getting angry about that.
Absolutely, same.
But you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You should breathe. Just step back a bit. Easy to say. Very easy to say. But as you say, on the road, when somebody cuts you up and all that.
Do you know what? I don't think in Spain they need to put indicators on the cars here.
No. It's an unnecessary addition, isn't it?
Yes.
It can cut costs.
Yeah. My granddad used to say, when I used to say to him, you need to indicate, he'd say, well, they can see which way my wheels are pointing.
He was Spanish, wasn't he?
Exactly.
The point reminds me of the movie Wolf of Wall Street, where his dad answers the phone when he's watching. He gets a phone call when he's just about to get to the best part of his series, and he's like, starts screaming and shouting, then he picks the phone up and says, Martha, hi.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know if you're aware of a player called Andrei Rublev. He just won the Madrid tournament.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
And previously in the tournament, I think 3 tournaments beforehand, and you can see it on YouTube, he loses it with the linesman. He goes up to the linesman and he is screaming at him and getting angry. And what happened to him was he was disqualified, and then he lost, I think, in the next 3 or 4 tournaments in the first round. And this is a top 7 or 8 player in the world. He lost and he talked about it when he won Madrid. He said, I've been through this and I regret it so much. And I suffered for the next 3 or 4 tournaments, because every time he walked on court, he was thinking, everybody in this arena remembers me. They've seen it now on YouTube, because it's all out there. And it affected him. So that's just an example of how losing it. And it's easy to lose it in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But poor guy.
It's interesting allowing yourself to, or not allowing yourself to get angry at things that are totally out of your control. Things that are happening with other people, or that other people have done. It's a really, I remember with the radio, for example, years ago, if a guest didn't answer the phone, or there was a technical problem, whatever, I'd get really stressed. I'd be like, I've got to get the guest, like they're waiting for me, and it would be, I'd make myself really stressed really quickly. Now, and for years I've managed to do this. I'm like, okay, I'll just put a song on then. I'll play some Kylie Minogue.
What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly. What is the worst that can happen?
But that's experience, Hannah. That's you. Yeah. You know, the total pro. You're in command now. You're doing it. Nothing can faze you anymore. But I think at first, because when you're saying that happened to me loads of times when I was doing the breakfast show. You know, guests who had agreed to come on would suddenly you get an email during the show saying, "Really sorry, I can't." You know, what am I going to do for 20 minutes? And then, exactly. But as the weeks go on, you've got music ready. Or you get, you learn with it, but you know, come on, let's just get it in perspective.
The world isn't going
it's
to
a radio
end.
show. Don't get like that.
Exactly. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, it's good to kind of remind ourselves of the. It's not always that easy.
But if the traffic's bad in Estepona tonight, where we're going, I'll be very, very angry.
Yes. This article talks about how we inherit a little of our personality from our parents. A study has found that people are only marginally more likely to share personality traits with their parents than they are with a stranger. So it's only a slight bit of personality that we get from our parents.
That's interesting.
That is.
And sometimes actually you do think, well, I'm nothing like my mother was. I don't react like that. I'm not. I might look like her, but I don't react like that. So maybe there's something in that actually. It's interesting.
You hear people saying all the time, women saying, "Oh God, I sound like my mother," or men saying, "Oh, I'm sounding like my dad." You know, especially when you get older. You know,
they end up looking like their mother.
Yeah. That's true in my case, absolutely. When I get my rollers in every night.
But often it's the things that used to kind of annoy you slightly about them that you end up going, "Oh God, that's just something that my mother would say," for example.
I think for my situation, I would say my brother had my father's, or has my father a lot. You know, I can look at him miserable, doesn't want to, you know, like the most boring person in the world. God rest my dad, he passed away, but I can see him in my brother. My mum, I can see some of myself in my mum.
Can you? Yeah.
I can see some of myself in my mum because we're a bit more. She's a bit more party, you know, like she's up for doing stuff and what have you. I see more of myself in my auntie because I think she's younger.
Yeah.
So I've spent many years obviously coming here. She lives here and we're growing up. And you know, I hope she's not listening, but even if she is, the fun thing that we all share in our family is the chin. So I think the double chin is the main thing for me. But I would say that because she's younger, I would see more. There's more, you know, kind of similarities with me and her.
Yeah.
Versus me and my mum. My mum's, you know, ends up pulling her hair out over me.
Yeah. But it's very easy to see, you know, when kids really go off the rails and their parents have gone off the rails in the past, or they're from dodgy families or whatever, it's very easy to say, well, of course the kids are like that because look at the parents. But this piece that you're talking about is saying not necessarily. So you can't just say, well, it's blame the parents. It's you can maybe make your own way, forge your own way. You know, your own
I think it's tricky, isn't it? When you start to look at the different societies in the different areas, you know, the poverty areas and what have you, it becomes very difficult for children to not look at their I mean, we all look at our parents and idolise them to a certain extent and go, wow, you know, I want to follow in. I always thought I should have a briefcase and a desk job. In actual fact, I should have been a red coat or blue coat at Butlins, right?
Yeah.
That's what I should have done.
You definitely should have done that.
Yeah, but I thought I should follow the route of my father, because
I remember those things.
Yeah, so those.
We've got 20 seconds left.
That's what we've got. 20 more seconds to go.
The audience out there is saying, "Thank goodness for that."
It was really fun, guys. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to get my Blue Peter badge signed now.
You do it. Howard Brereton is next. I'm back on Monday. Have a great weekend, all.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit tre.radio.